June 20th to the 22nd.
And that's Ellensburg based, and the geologist is Nick Zentner.
Correct.
Good. And then the other one is an August weekend.
Yes, August 15th through 17th at the Mount St. Helens Institute.
Yes.
We're going to be at Coldwater Creek at the Science and Learning Center.
Good.
With Hannah Shamloo.
Hannah Shamloo and Nick Zentner, the geologist involved.
It would be great if we could max capacity both of the camps.
What's capacity for each camp?
Well, up to 45. Well, yeah, up to 45 individuals.
Okay.
And that's magnificent.
Dr. Hannah Shamloo is one of the rising stars in all of North America geology. She's going to be there the whole weekend, right in the shadow of Mount St. Helens. And I'll be there, but it's really, that's a Hannah Shamloo experience. And her background, half Mexican American, half Persian American, I mean, she could really speak to a lot of people in a very meaningful way beyond what I can do. Yeah,
Hannah is part of the 1% of women of color in geosciences. So Hannah Shamloo is really representing, and it's really an honor that she's going to be joining us.
So I'm going to try to stay loose and not know exactly what I want to do with either of these weekends. I'm flexible enough to adapt to what the group is interested in doing geologically, but I think what we've done before, Denice, at least last summer, is I had a couple of field sites nearby, and we use it as a teaching space, but there's people from all backgrounds, all ages, and so I'm not teaching a university class.
No.
We're just kind of exploring. Kids are collecting stuff as we go.
Yeah.
I'm engaging everybody the best I can, and the goal is just to make everybody comfortable doing a little bit of geology and a lot of hands-on stuff. And then I'm camping with everybody as well, so there's a lot of, we're eating with, everybody's eating together, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that was really great, I think, where you were able to meet people where they were.
Yeah,
people
totally.
really appreciated that. Adults, kids, older youth. Everybody was able to interact with you in their own way and felt really comfortable and good about it.
Good.
So Denice has done a lot of investigation into sort of the composition of folks in the geological sciences.
Yes.
And there are very few Black and brown people in that discipline. And whether we're talking about academia, whether we're talking about non-academic careers. And I think, in my own experience, you tend to learn about things, you tend to have access and opportunity when your family or your community is embedded in those things. And I think that because the geological sciences are so underrepresented, it's not a leap to, understand that Black and brown people don't have the access and opportunity to learn, to meet people like you, Nick. And so I think that is kind of one of the big goals we have for these camps.
Yes. Well, are you a geologist?
No, I'm not. I'm an epidemiologist. Another IST.
I mean, are you going to accept everybody then? I can just kind of be bold. I don't know if we'll keep this, but what if there's a white family of 4 that says, yeah, I want to go hang out with Nick Zentner and that weekend. I think we should do this. Let's apply.
So I have some thoughts about that.
Sure.
Aruna probably has some thoughts about that too. So going back to us saying that the Bronx chapter is not an affinity organization, our programs for the most part are open to anybody who wants to participate in the skill and knowledge sharing that we're offering.
Okay.
At the same time, we do center and prioritize an audience of color because that audience doesn't have access to these kind of things, whereas that white family could go anywhere,
Right.
see you anywhere, do all these things, right?
Yeah.
And be comfortable and be represented by the community, feel safe, all that stuff. So I would say, if that family wanted to hook up with another family
Oh, let's hold
of
on.
color,
This is good. Yeah.
that would be great. Hook up with some friends, bring your friends. We're literally in this living and learning phase together.
Yes.
From my point of view.
Right.
And we're stronger together.
Yep.
And we're stronger together. And so there's one reason I didn't want the Bronze chapter to be an affinity organization. Because, well, for one thing, my family wouldn't be able to come. Why am I going to create something where my own family can't come? Where half of me couldn't come. If my mom was alive and I had an affinity organization,
I see.
my mom couldn't come, right?
Right.
So that didn't feel right to me.
Yes.
I also know that being from a mixed race families kind of saddle an interesting space between, white only groups and POC only groups. It's a weird place
Right.
where we can kind of catch it from both sides.
Okay.
So the Bronze chapter's mission is to increase representation of, communities that have been historically excluded or underrepresented in the outdoors. And so our primary audience are those communities. We center those communities, but we're not exclusive to those communities.
Okay. Good. Families, kids and their parents, all the above.
Multicultural, intergenerational, all the above.
Yeah, I had a great time last summer with both of you at Deception Pass. Maybe that's a way to describe the possibility for the two geology weekends we're talking about in 2025.
They heard about it mostly through our website, the Bronze Chapter, Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And then word of mouth from there.
Good.
We had age ranges from maybe 5
Sure seemed like it.
or 6
Some youngins.
to
60 plus.
60 something, 60
Yes.
plus, mid 60s.
Good. Okay. Well, yeah. We have a lot of open slots in both geology weekends. Sounds like.
Yes, mostly in August.
Okay, mostly in August. And are you prepared to talk about cost? Should we talk about cost now
Sure.
and possibilities for help?
Sure. So this year for both of these camps, they're $485 per person for the entire weekend. We have a reduced rate of $250 per person if somebody needs financial assistance. This year we're doing the programs a little different. So last year we, at Deception Pass, it was kind of a last minute thing we put together. It was really fortunate.
Yeah.
But it didn't cost that much. We had volunteers making the dinner. People supplemented their own breakfast and lunch. The facility didn't cost that much. And we were really able to put it together on the fly. And that was $99 per person. But we really took a big hit on that.
Yeah.
And so we talked about how can we do it better this year, meaning more comfortable, less barriers for people. So we wanted to provide food, all meals. We wanted to provide, cozy lodging,
Right.
and a really beautiful, significant place. And we were finding that with your help, you sent everybody sent many options, and they're spendy. We found out it's pretty spendy.
Right.
Each of these camps, is like $13,000, $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 for the weekend.
Yes. Okay.
For 50 people that we were kind of budgeting for.
So this is Lazy F Camp outside of Ellensburg. A friend of mine, I connected you guys, and you seem to like that camp. You even went over to visit and check it out.
That's a
make
great
sure.
space.
Okay.
That's an awesome space, yeah.
I think he does a lot of religious weekends, or he's loosely affiliated with the church, and so it's kind of a church camp kind of a thing. Yeah.
Loosely. Yeah, but the camp management is super kind, super fun.
Good.
It's a beautiful location. They have this beautiful new dining room.
Yeah.
It's just spacious. The lodges are spaced in a way that you're not on top of each other. There's plenty of room.
Good.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful location. People are going to have a great time. And you can fish if you want to. They have all kinds of side games that if you get tired of neck talking, you can go zip line or something. So
yeah. I mean, yeah.
And
please.
the one thing I'd like to add is I think I was really touched by what the Lazy F owners offered the Bronze Chapter, which was 2 scholarships for families of up to 5 people, which just kind of showed how much they cared about this event, and I think also you, Nick. So I think that was really special.
Thank you for including that. That's Dave Burfind at Lazy F Camp in Menashtash Canyon. So if you truly had a mix of families and mix of participants, that would be a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, right.
That would cherry pie with whipped cream on top.
I mean, we're not just learning geology, we're learning about each other, we're learning about the different perspectives.
Absolutely.
In a natural spot, but okay.
Maybe Denice, you want to talk about how it's not just about teaching people skills and providing knowledge about how to safely and responsibly recreate, if that's what people want to do in the outdoors, but it's also about building community and creating peer groups. I guess I'm saying it for you.
So, yeah, we're all about skill building and skill sharing, knowledge sharing, but doing it in a, kind of more cohesive fashion, where we're not, being exclusionary. We're not excluding people,
right?
Which is the thing we complain about.
Yes.
We're not in this group, but we're not letting these people in our group.
Right.
And we really don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time.
Yes.
At the same time, I think, the outdoors, has historically been experienced by people who are white, and, I would also say culturally white. And so the experience is not one that's centered on Black and brown people. And I think that is something that is important to understand about the Bronze Chapter. It's not an affinity organization, and it doesn't look to exclude anyone, but it is very firmly focused on centering the BIPOC community.
Yes. I think some of my viewers are going to be watching this like, did anybody else donate to your chapter in that Session Z thing at the end of the alphabet? Was that a success?
That was a success. I think we have maybe, I didn't look before I came, sorry, but I think we have around $14,000 donations right now.
Yeah, your community
Total.
is wonderful, Nick. And thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
And some people wrote cards, sent checks in cards, and they sent pictures of themselves outside, like when they were kids, and they were, sharing their stories, or, somebody would email me. So it was a lot more than just like sending money. Some people really wanted to say thank you for what you're doing, because these experiences, like what you're organizing and providing for people, really shaped like my trajectory, like who I became, what I did, the way I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there was one note that Denice shared with me where I don't remember the specific opportunity this person had. It was like with a conservation corps type activity, but they said that they did that for in their, early adulthood, maybe in their youth actually, and that their contribution to the Bronze Chapter was a way for them to pay forward that experience that was so, was
pivotal,
such a pretty pivotal force in their lives. Yeah.
Terrific.
It's very sweet.
Well, thank you, viewers, for all that support. So I'll make sure that you see right down below, there's a link for the bronze chapter if you didn't get a chance to donate to this fine organization. And there's also specific links for the specific geology camps. June, summer geology camp with me. August geology weekend camp with me and Dr. Hannah Shamloo from Central Washington University. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you down the
Thank you.
road. Great job.
Nick, you're so good at this.
Oh, thank you.
Let me know when you all are ready for lunch.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Don't ask me about the geology here. I don't know anything.
What's this?
Time for us to keep walking. Keep walking.
You know, if I have to think about sort of, you know, the BIPOC experience with the outdoors
Right?
versus, you know, sort of the white experience. And, you know, this is a generalization, so it doesn't apply to all situations, as most generalizations do. But I think, you know, Denice, this is our conversation that we had at Quinault. It's like, I think, and, you know, my husband's white, so I have biracial kids, and kind of my observation of them growing up versus how I grew up as part of an immigrant family from India. Like, my kids just had to learn things. Whereas I feel like the Black and brown community, especially in relation to the outdoors, part of the sort of work, if you will, is unlearning things too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you?
I would love for Denice to say more about that, because I think it's some of her observations. Remember we talked about the Unlearning Manifesto? Like,
Right.
yeah, on our to-do list.
Right. I was going to say, yeah. One of the many things on our to-do list. Yeah. Well, I think I feel like unlearning is one of the most significant things that the bronze chapter offers. And maybe one of the most significant things I can offer just as a human is, you know, helping people unlearn fear. So they don't carry that fear into their 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
That stops them from doing things that are hella fun. And also community building in their own ways. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, most people of color can't swim. And so most of our campouts are water adjacent for a reason. I'm always in the water. And I'm either, you know, swimming or floating on my paddleboard or snorkeling or something, because I want to encourage people to, you know, get in the water with me. And so there's a lot of fear to be unlearned there. If I can get people, to walk in ankle deep, mm-hmm. Maybe if they stand there long enough and I talk to them long enough, I can convince them to go like halfway to their kneecap, right? If we stay there a little longer, maybe kneecap. Maybe I gotta go. Kneecap's not comfortable. But maybe the next day they come out and maybe I can get them to sit, because sitting kind of is in that area, right? So now we're sitting and we get more of our body covered and it's like, ooh, I don't know. And then maybe the next day they come out, that wasn't so bad after all. Mm. And these little progressions of fear, and let me just use water as an example, because that's a big one in a community, but also just...
And it's a big one because there are so many non-swimmers in that community.
Yeah, because most people of color can't swim.
Yeah.
So even just touching the water is, ooh, what will happen? They're kids, and that, it's their kids. Like, get away from there. Don't go away from there. I can't see you.
Right.
Don't touch that. And so, and it expands everything. It's just, even out, walking. Don't touch that. It's whatever. This is dirt. Oh, do you know what that is? Don't touch that if you don't know what that is.
Right.
It's like, I'm like, touch it, pick it up, look at it. If you get hurt, that's okay. Get up. We're resilient. If you fall down, trip, no big deal. Nobody's gonna laugh. Nobody cares. I fall all the time. That's what I do. I ride snowboards. I am falling all the time. I fall with my bike. I trip and fall on the trail. I don't care. It's not a big deal. Like I think, because I don't have this underlying and overarching fear of almost anything, I think that people see me and they're like, oh, that girl? She's just a girl.
But at the same time, I think
I
you're
don't have
able
to be afraid either.
Yeah, but I think you're able to hold both, like understand that people have fears, but I think you balance that with like the emphasis on safety and safety through skills. Like I met
Right.
Denice by taking a wilderness first aid class from her, and I just want to say she is one of the most talented teachers I've ever experienced. But it's like at every opportunity, she's got safety in mind, whether it's like building a campfire. Like everybody, at the community camps the Bronze Chapter does, everybody tends to take turns learning how to build the night's fire. And so, there's still an element of safety that's emphasized during that. So I think, when people feel safe, they're less afraid, which I think that's why Denice emphasizes safety so much as part of the unlearning, if you will.
Yeah.
Like this trail right here, which is right off of Interstate 90, would this be a place to unlearn a bunch of things?
Oh, absolutely.
Right here on this trail.
Absolutely. Unlearn your fear of being in the woods. There's wild animals here. Of course there are wild animals here. There's people who you don't know here. There's, you can only see so far. There's trees, there's density. You have to trust your surroundings, and, you might come up, maybe like, I don't know, maybe there's somebody up there that reminds you of somebody in your life that you're uncomfortable around or something. Also, learning to be situationally aware. We have roots here. Pick up your feet. There's rocks. There's things you don't have to deal with when you're walking on your sidewalk in your urban environment. And there's just, so many, I could go on and on. So many things that just a trail like this can help people unlearn fear.
And I think that if that fear isn't part of your community or, acquired by, your culture through your lived experiences, it sometimes I think can feel silly just kind of hearing about that. And I think it can be easy to dismiss it.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what we mean when we say we center BIPOC folks, because it cannot be dismissed in that community, because it is a part of many people's lived experiences who are in that community.
Yes.